I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about intimacy during the fertility journey. And really, this episode may make you feel uncomfortable. We are going there. So really get your partner to listen to this with you. If it does make you feel uncomfortable, then it means actually we need to focus on this area probably. We are talking about arousal. We're talking about desire. We're talking about really before it was like right now, you might just be looking at your lovemaking as baby making. And we've forgotten about how important and vital this lovemaking is to your relationship and really helping with stress and to really get that connection back again. Because a lot of times you may become disconnected if you're just focusing on the baby making. So really get your partner to listen to this podcast episode with you. Hope you enjoy. There's tips you can start right now. So sit down and enjoy, and feel free to leave a review on iTunes. Registration for our Mindfulness Fertility series is now open. This is a 6-week live online group program. This program is a must if you have an IUI or an IVF coming up, and is essential for anyone trying to get pregnant naturally. Whether you are stuck catastrophizing about the future or ruminating about the past, we'll help you reframe your thoughts, reduce anxiety, and create a solid mindset for success. Class starts on Thursday, September the 26th. Space is very limited. Go to FabFertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Shop, and then click on Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. That's FabFertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Shop, and then click on Mindfulness Fertility Series to register.
I'm talking about deeply connected, spiritual, completely just running honey full of love kind of sex. That's a learned skill. Orgasm is a learned skill.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Susan Bratton to the podcast, and we're digging into how to improve intimacy during the fertility journey. Susan is the author of 27 books, including Sexual Soulmates, Relationship Magic, Dirty Talk, and How to Be Instantly Hotter and Sexier. Publisher of titles such as the Steamy Sex Ed video collection, The Passion Patch, and Revive Her Drive. She's a television celebrity, YouTube star, Instagram influencer, spokesperson, and advocate for sexual wellness, passionate lovemaking, and bedroom communication skills. Susan is a phenomenon in the world of pleasure and connection, and you can check out her website at Susan Bratton. That's Susan, SUSAN, BRATTON.com. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Susan, excited to have you on the podcast.
Oh, me too. What a lovely conversation to talk about fertility. It's such a empowering and scary part of our life, one of our life stages as a woman. And people forget about the sexuality side of fertility and childbearing. So it's an important conversation to have. And I'm really honored and happy to be talking to you about this because people don't ask me about fertility and sex.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you on. Absolutely. Yeah. So before we dive in, can you share a little bit about your journey and how you got to do this work?
Well, I became a sexpert about 15 years ago. And you know how they say, I love the phrase, your greatest wound becomes your greatest gift. Have you heard that phrase? Is that like something that everybody's saying now?
I haven't actually heard it that phrase that way, but yeah, definitely. And that was the case for me. I never thought I'd become a fertility coach. That really was not on my radar. I'm sure maybe for you as well.
It was never on my radar. I started out as my current title. You will love this title. It's so over the top ridiculous. It makes me happy every time I say it. My title, besides CEO and co-founder of my tech company that I run, which fuels all of what I do, my external title to the universe is Trusted Hot Sex Advisor to Millions.
Love it.
It just makes me happy. I help millions of people have hot sex. And by hot sex, I don't mean the kind of sex that you see in porn, which I'm very against because I feel that it is extremely degrading to women. What I teach is the alternative, which is heart-connected lovemaking. And when I was thinking about how edgy it is to feel like you have to have sex on your fertile days when you're trying to get pregnant and it's not working and you're like, I thought this was going to be easier. And you're feeling all that edge around that. Love making is really the key. When I thought about all of the things I wanted to say to you today, I thought it's creating love that we're doing. That's what we're doing. And so how do we keep that as the frame of our intimate connection? I have a very long, sad sexual story, which I won't go into in detail. But if anything could have happened to you in a negative way sexually, it's probably happened to me. And it started out losing my virginity at 19 and getting pregnant using contraceptive methods. I was using one of those minoxidil suppositories, and it didn't work. And I got pregnant when I lost my virginity, which really sucks. I had to have an abortion. And I thought, oh, all right, I'm going to do it because I'm just not ready. And so, of course, I lost my first child as a child. And then when I finally got married at 30 and we decided to start to have children at 31, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get pregnant like that. You probably hear this all the time. And didn't for years until finally at 35, lo and behold, our precious package came into the universe. So who's now 22 and a gorgeous human being in every possible dimension. So I have had my challenges, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of the things that I've gone through. And so all of the things that had mounted up over my whole life, I always wanted to have great, passionate lovemaking, and it eluded me. My orgasms eluded me. And so I set about with my husband. We almost got divorced because we'd lost our way intimately. I'd made love to him for a decade and not had an orgasm from intercourse and just was really kind of burned out on the whole situation. They call that the orgasm gap. Have you heard that phrase, the orgasm gap?
No.
I like that. I call it crossing the gasm, when it's very easy for the male body to have great feeling intercourse. And it's with our female packaging and our urogenital scenario, our anatomical scenario, and our vaginal microbiome, and, all of the delicacy of who we are as little human creatures, we have a lot harder time achieving climax through intercourse. They say 90+% of the time men do, and about half the time some women do. And I was one of those people who never did. And after a decade of doing that with my husband, I was done with it. And it practically broke up our marriage. And instead of allowing it to do that and ruin our child's life, because we loved each other, we said, let's learn how to have sex. And we threw ourselves into sex workshops, very edgy stuff. And we came out the other side after doing the hard work that it takes to go to a workshop and take your clothes off and learn sex skills in front of other people, stuff most people would never do. We said, we need to bring this to the world. We need to teach people that sex is not a learned skill. You can figure out how to make a baby if you're lucky without anyone telling you what to do. Slot A into tab B, and most people can, work that out. But lovemaking, and I'm not talking about the friction of sex. I'm not talking about getting off, which guys can do way more easier than we can. I'm talking about deeply connected, spiritual, completely just running honey full of love kind of sex. That's a learned skill. Orgasm is a learned skill. And women think, oh, there's something wrong with me. I don't orgasm, or I can only orgasm this one way, or I can only orgasm with a vibrator, or whatever they're saying in their mind as I'm not enough is so wrong. Because if you knew, like I know, after working with literally millions of people between my email list and my YouTube channel and my sliding into my DMs on Instagram and replying to me and asking me at every party I go to, hey, I'm like, hey, I've got the sprain. They ask me, they share their most personal of personal lives. And I've had the fortune of knowing what goes on with people of all ages around the world and every culture. So it's been a fascinating journey of empathy and understanding that no one teaches us how to make love, but that they are learned skills. And that's how I ended up here today, 15 years, over 30 books and programs, trying to give people the simple tools to have a very profound effect on that deep and loving connection that we all crave.
Yeah, and with that, with the connection piece, so obviously going through the fertility journey, it can be the whole lovemaking side of it becomes very obviously timed and
transactional.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the intimacy can be lost. So how do we, if we become disconnected, how do we become connected again?
Well, those are really two questions. I should break them into two, because how, if we've become disconnected, can we become connected again is an entirely different question than how do we make timed intercourse, which feels transactional, not feel that way. So which one should I take down first?
Go ahead, whatever feels right for you.
All right. I think one dovetails into the other. So thinking about how I really want to answer this in an actionable way, I like to give real things you can do. And what I'll say is that if you're only or mostly being physically intimate, and I don't necessarily just mean intercourse, but being sexually, sensually intimate only during the times that you're trying to have intercourse to conceive, it's going to feel transactional. So you need to widen the pleasure palette in your sex life to go beyond just intercourse to make a baby. When you're thinking about having intercourse to make a baby, we'll come back to that. What can you do to make that a very loving and heart-connected experience? So I'll talk more about that, because a lot of that has to go to what I like to think about as the intersection of libido, desire, and arousal. And so we'll look at it in that way. But I think my very first recommendation is to have a lot of frequent genital massages from your partner. So obviously, if you're trying to make a baby, we're mostly dealing with heterosexual couples in this case. So it's pretty easy for me to go, I think, with the man-woman paradigm. Is that reasonable?
Typically, yeah.
Typical. So let's just stick with typical. And if you're edge case, you can email me. The best thing to do is to train they're probably your husband, so let's just go with that. The best thing to do is train your husband to give you 3 to 5 genital massages every week, and breast massages as well. They really work together very well. And what you'd want to do is you'd want to have these after, if you have other children, after the kids are in bed, when you lay down, instead of watching TV at night or falling straight to sleep, try and get into bed a little earlier, get your kids to bed, do what you can. Do your best. 3 to 5 may be untenable for people with children. If you don't have any, you maybe be able to work this out. And it's a goal. You're not going to hit it every week, but it's kind of like okay, this is what is going to really work for you to keep you juicy and excited for each other and turned on. If you go from we've been doing everything else but having sex to slam, boom, now it's time to have sex, that's very difficult for a woman, because women, being estrogen dominant, we prefer to become aroused by our partner. And then we get turned on, where our partner is usually already aroused and desirous. So we are the laggards and they are the early adopters in the scheme of desire. That's one thing. And the genital massages and the breast massages. And remember that what I'm not saying here is that you do him and he does you. What I'm saying is he does you. Now, someone might say, oh, well, but that's not fair. If he does me, I have to do him. And I'm going to talk more specifically about the actual genital massage and breast massage and give you some techniques and why I say this. But the first thing I want to say is that he's just going to do you. He's going to fill you up with pleasure and what's called engorgement, which is the blood flow to your genitals. It's really going to help a lot during intercourse when there's a steady state of blood flow to your genitals. That isn't just the kind that you do for 5, 10, 15, or if you're lucky, 20 minutes before penetration. You need more blood flow. That consistent genital massage is going to allow you to feel generally more turned on over your week and month than just trying to get turned on in the moment that it's time to have sex. So what you're doing is, it's like pennies in the piggy bank. You're saving your money for the rainy day. Only in this case, what you're doing is engorging your genitals for the lovemaking time. Because your body takes a long time to get all that erectile tissue really filled with blood. For men, about 50% of their erectile tissue is outside of their body, and you can see it in the erectile function of their penis. They have about half of it in what is called their buried shaft of their penis. It goes inside their body, and that they often don't get fully engorged either. But we women, we tend to rush intercourse because our men are always so ready to go that we don't have the time that it takes to get fully aroused and get that blood flowing in the clitoral structure, the G area, the perineal sponge, the inner and outer labia, our belly, our thighs, our butt, our breasts, our lips, our nose. We have erectile tissue in all of these areas, and it needs to get plumped and the blood to be flowing so that we get accurately and reasonably turned on for penetration or even oral. So if he gives you a good genital or yoni massage, spends a lot of time outside on the vulva before even entering you with his hands and fingers, and then when he's inside your vaginal area, doing a lot to really gently and lovingly palpate and stroke your G area on the roof of your vagina and the P area on the bottom of your vagina, all of that's going to just warm up all that tissue and really get the blood flow going. And by him lovingly rubbing, and I always like organic avocado or coconut oil, by him always gently rubbing your vulva and loving you in that way and pouring love from his heart down through his hands into your yoni. And you learning to receive that without any requisite to return the favor for him, unless you are drawn to do it, unless you want to do it. And what will happen over time is that as he does give you these genital and these breast massages, soon you're going to get to a point of arousal where you're going to want to touch his penis. Now, he should show you his penis. And if it gets erect, he should let you see, oh, look at this. I've got a nice hard on for you. But you should never feel like you should have to act on it in any way. You have to honor your body and what she wants every step of the way so that you don't feel like you're doing things that you don't want to do. Because when you have to make love during your fertile window, sometimes you don't want to do it. And that puts what I call a chip on your yoni's shoulder. You know, she gets just a little annoyed with you, a lot annoyed with you. And the more that you piss her off, the more that you're shutting down her sexuality. And when your partner understands that that's what happens, that's the last thing that he wants to do. He just doesn't understand how different we are. So these genital massages, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and you can get really good at telling him where you need it. Honey, will you knead my Mons tissue with your fingers? Would you rub just from the top all the way down my fur on each side of my outer labia? Would you stroke the edges of my inner labia with the tip of your finger with a lot of oil on it, super light, that feels really good? Would you just press down on the hood of my clitoris and go from the top to the bottom? Would you take your finger and run from the bottom of the opening of my vagina, just on the outside, don't go in, all the way up the slit or the opening of my yoni up to my clitoris, and then just hold your finger there and send love into it. Like, you'll get a vocabulary of things you can tell him that get him to be very good at listening to you, hearing how different everything is all the time. You can look at your vulva before he rubs it and then after he rubs it with a hand mirror to get used to seeing what engorgement looks like, to get used to looking at your vulva, to become appreciative of its beauty and magnificence and its changeability. And over time, the two of you are going to witness the miracle of the beauty of your yoni and all its stages. And it's going to draw you closer together because it's slow, it's honorable, it's loving, it's connected, it's communicative, it's awe-inspiring. And then when you're about to have that baby, you're going to be in love with your yoni, and you're not going to be afraid of people looking at it or people touching you. It's going to help you just get ready for pregnancy as well. And remember that all that perineal massage is going to pay off in the end as well, as he learns how to give you great massages as you get that baby inside you. And he sees the blossoming of your vulva, and you feel all that wonderful arousal that happens, especially in that second trimester. And you're going to have the best sex of your life because you've suddenly fallen in love with your yoni. And now she's in an even more beautifully engorged state. So you're laying a foundation for a lifetime of appreciative lovemaking and deep, slow, pleasurable connection. That's also giving you a lot of arousal between lovemaking times so that when lovemaking time comes around, you feel more ready for it, more connected, less shy, more in your body, and you have more pleasure and sensation. And in the times, let's just say that your partner travels for business or you're too busy or what have you, get a really good vibrator. There's two kinds of vibrators I like for this, and masturbate. Masturbate with your partner in solo masturbation where you're mutually playing with he's playing with himself and you're playing with yourself, and in the morning or in the evening before you go to bed. If it's not a yoni massage night, masturbate with a vibrator. Can I tell you the two I like?
Yeah, just about to write it down. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's two I like. One is they're both from the Fun Factory. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever watched any of my YouTube videos, you know that I am a crazy nut about how unhealthy most sex toys, even famous brands, how unhealthy most sex toys are. Most sex toys are made with plasticizers and phthalates full of toxic materials that leach the toxins and endocrine disruptors into your body through your vaginal mucosa, which is like sucking on it like a lollipop because it's the same skin that's in your mouth. It goes right into your bloodstream. And the last thing you need when you're trying to get pregnant is endocrine disruptors, for God's sakes. That's like the worst. So the Fun Factory is a 22-year-old company they're made in Germany, and they're very high quality. I don't get paid by them. I just tell you about them. So if it sounds like a commercial, it's just a commercial because I'm, so high on their products. They have two different products. One of them is called the Lady Bi, B-I. It has two motors in it, a motor in the base and a motor in the shaft. And it's kind of like a new age butterfly. And it's medical grade silicone. It's a really high quality product. The price points are amazing for what you get. They last forever. The vibe is super nice. And it's not a big, long kind of thing that has to go deep inside you. It rests at the entrance to your vagina, which is called your introitus. And it stimulates your G-spot, and it stimulates outside. It stimulates your clitoral structure, not just the clitoral tip, but you have the clitoral shaft, the clitoral head, you have the clitoral legs, the crura, and all of that needs to get nice and engorged for you to have full orgasmic sensation. So it does a really good job of being slightly inside you and filling you in a nice way and giving sensation to the G-spot, the vaginal area, and a lot of the clitoral structure. So I like that. For some women, they want more and need more internal lubrication and internal sensation. And Fun Factory has a series called the Stronic series of pulsators, which are they actually thrust. They're lightly thrusting vibrators. You can put it inside your vaginal canal and turn it on, and it vibrates or not, and it thrusts slowly or a little more quickly in and out and increases vaginal sensitivity and lubrication, which I also think is very good. So those two are very good. And if you masturbate every day or every other day or a couple of times a week, you'll keep that engorgement going. And all of this really is what's going to keep you feeling desire so that you can become aroused. So you've got your libido, which is really how healthy you are. Your libido and how much you desire someone, how much you feel horny, really. It's not about desire. Libido is really about, do you feel horny? Do you feel turned on? Do you want sex? And that's directly tied to your level of health, your gut microbiome, how much toxins are in your system, what your hormone balance is, how your adrenals are working, the level of stress you're under, the sleep you get, the food, the quality of the food you're eating, the exercise you're getting, all of those things, which Sarah, I know that's what you're working on with your woman. That's your thing, is to get women in the zone there. And then so that's libido, and you help women with that. And then there's desire. And the desire is what I was really talking about, which is you're happy with your partner. You're feeling good about your partner. You're getting genital massages. You're feeling close to them. You want them. They're a person that you want to make a baby with and be in life with. And they turn you on when you get going and things like that. And then arousal is you have to get aroused as a woman. You don't start aroused. Guys start aroused. Women don't always start aroused, especially if we're not in our fertile window when we're ovulating. So we are much more cyclical because we're estrogen. So there are days of the month when we're not turned on at all, and then other days when we have more arousal. And men pretty much have arousal every morning. They get morning wood if they're healthy every morning, and they have that arousal. So you need your guy to help you get aroused. And once you get it, you know how when women say, I don't ever really want sex, but once I have sex, I'm glad I had it. That's that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's that. That's what that is. That's that arousal thing. We need to become aroused. So the yoni massages help us stay in more of a general arousal state, and the breast massages too, which I can go into a little description. I teach men how to give women breast massages. I teach people how to give women breast massages if you want to go there, but I want to stop and let you get a word in.
I just want to circle back to because there's a thing online that I was following. I can't remember the name of it now, but it is an actual process what you're talking about with these genital massages, and the one I was looking at, the man comes in, he puts the gloves on, he puts the woman's leg up in a certain position, and it's like done for daily for I guess months. This is kind of what you do. And very like 10 to 20 minutes. I don't think she's actually having an orgasm, but it is, to me, I thought it was the genital massage, but really she doesn't need to do anything. Is to kind of get her, as you're saying, the arousal or the desire to get her ready.
Yeah. So that's called orgasmic meditation.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's taught by One Taste, mm-hmm. and it's a clitoral stroking technique.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's one version of an orgasmic stroking technique. I actually have a program. It's called Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. And if you go to that URL, you might want to put that URL in the show notes too. Mm-hmm. It's Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. And there are 3 free pleasure reports on that URL that teach you how women don't have, how men have an orgasm that is, they go up, 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 up. They climax and then they shoot way back down and they're done. They're like one and done. Well, that's all they know. Men can have 14 different kinds of orgasms. Women can have, at my count, 16 kinds of orgasms. But what we can do is we can go up into an orgasm and then stretch that orgasm out over time, and then go into another one that's even more intense and stretch it out over time, and come for like an hour. With this clitoral stroking technique. There are many different versions taught. The one that One Taste teaches is what I consider to be a very transactional 15-minute.
Very transactional. I was like, okay, the glove and the leg and everything very done a certain way.
Yes. And the position is actually very good because then it's comfortable for the giver, the doer, and the receiver. And it came from an organization called Morehouse in California, Lafayette, California. And they taught this as extended massive orgasm or deliberate orgasm. So a lot of the older crowd calls it doing, D-O, deliberate orgasm, D-O-I-N-G. You get done or you do someone. But it has had many flavors. My flavor is expanded orgasm because we've infused it with Kashmiri Shaivist Tantra loving techniques rather than we remove the transaction from it. But what we didn't remove that you saw in the One Taste version as well, which directly comes from Morehouse lineage. This is a lineage practice, like Hapkido or yoga. It's a lineage practice. And what it is a very light clitoral stroking technique, so light that it allows a woman to go into a level of orgasm that she can sustain without coming down off of it. And she has a series of orgasms that stack. You do come, but a lot of times in One Taste, it's the blind leading the blind, 15 minutes, lots of pressure. You're doing it in front of people. How could anybody have an orgasm, right? I mean, that's just crazy. But at least they're teaching the technique, which is great. And they're teaching that you can put into a woman's piggy bank this pleasure. And when you don't pressure her for reciprocation, she becomes a more sexual being, because once the pressure is relieved and there's no pressure for her to reciprocate, she can relax and enjoy the ride and feel your love. And you, as the giver or the doer, you are enjoying the taking her on the ride. And so women have a hard time believing that men are willing to do that, but they are. They really are biologically wired to give us incredible pleasure because it's competitive for them. They want to make sure they get invited back. So you can absolutely have a practice like that. I think trying to have a baby and trying to learn an expanded orgasm practice is a lot for one couple. You've already got your attention on one important thing. And so I wouldn't recommend that. I just go straight up. First, before you start to learn expanded orgasm, which is a high-level advanced orgasm skill, first start learning how to touch your wife's yoni, how to love it. At first, have your wife start learning how to communicate what she wants in every moment, which actually brings me to the technique that I want to give you, the sexual soulmate pact. This is a perfect segue into the technique if you'd like to go there.
Or actually, do you want to circle back to the breast massage?
Oh yeah, let's do the breast massage.
And just actually to go back on that. So I've actually taken Kim Anami. I think.
Yeah, Kim Anami.
Yeah, the well fucked woman. And she actually, I took it because she had the jade egg in there, which can be, although there's a lot of OBGYNs that have kind of like went and slammed the jade egg. So I like to get your take on that. And she really loves it, and I use it, and it was great. And in there she talks about breast massage and doing self breast massage. So that was really cool as well. So maybe, if you could circle back on a few of those things.
Yeah. So I love a jade egg. I promote Saida De Soleil's jade egg because she has the best jade egg program to teach you how to sip it in and push it out and hold it in and really exercise the muscles. So I really like a jade egg because I remember the first time I put one in and I popped it in. And then I think my husband was like, let's go for a beach walk. And I got up and we walked out and my jade egg like shot out onto the sidewalk. And I was like, oh, well, I need to work on this a little bit more. I got to tighten that thing up. But I really think a jade egg is a wonderful thing. I like the natural, but I think it needs to be a jade egg, not a crystal egg, because you need to have that hard stone so that it's not porous. But I think it's a beautiful practice and I really love it. And I think it's very honoring. And then the breast massage, self-massage is always good. Getting a massage is way better. Mm-hmm. So what I like to do is my husband and I have a TV at the end of our bed across the room in our bedroom. And we like to go get in bed and he leans up against the headboard against pillows. And then he puts a pillow on his belly, on his chest, and I lean back against him, and then he reaches around in front of me and he's got a towel and he's got warm organic coconut oil, and he just gives me essentially a chest massage. I like to say that instead of just a breast massage because I like to recommend the sternum, the neck, the shoulders, the back of your neck, the down in between your breasts, the outsides of your breast, under your armpits on the side of your body, your belly, under your breast tissue and your breast tissue, and then your nipples. If you think about us women, we like to be touched from the outside in. We don't want a guy to go right for our nipples. That's too much. That's like going for the center of the bullseye. He needs to learn to start at the outside ring and then work in from the bullseye into the center of the bullseye, which would be our nipples and our yoni. And he wants you to touch his penis right away. And so that's why that's why guys grab your crotch and your nipples, because that's what they want. So they think that's what we want, but we don't. And they just have to be taught. They just don't know. And so really what you're doing is you're doing a husband training program with all this stuff. You're teaching them to slow way down and slow down some more. And they're teaching them to go from the outside and work their way in. And the more that he stimulates and plumps all that breast tissue, the more that it actually stimulates your entire vulva as well. He should get so good at massaging your breasts and your nipples that you're getting orgasmic kind of feeling contractions. You'll start out with like a little wetness and it'll grow over time to like literally you can have orgasms from him just stimulating your breasts in sweet and loving ways. And you'll work your way up to that. And that's really good at getting the contractions going down in the vulvar area as well.
Great. And then talking about conscious communication, or what was you were going to go into something there about
Sexual soulmate pact.
Yeah, the sexual soulmate. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, what it is so many women are afraid to tell their partners what they want, or they say, I don't know what I want, but I know what I'm getting isn't it. It's kind of like art. I'll know it when I see it, only you never see it. And the thing that's, how I've been talking over and over about how he's testosterone and she's estrogen and we're so different. Almost every day he would be happy to have the same thing. He would be happy to have sex in the morning. And it would be intercourse, and he would get off, and he'd get off pretty much every time, and it would feel great to him every time, and he would be ready to go, and you're not ready to go. It doesn't feel as good to you. You may not get off. You need a lot of different kinds of stimulation. You need a lot more warm up. And so we're very, very different in those ways. And add to that we're hormonally cyclical, much more so. We're lunar creatures, us women, us Homo sapiens. If you think about where we are in the universe, we are a little animal rolling around on this big blue earth, this big blue planet. And we are on the phylogenetic tree with bonobos and chimpanzees and orangutans and gorillas. And then there's Homo sapiens. But we're just one lineage of an entire animal kingdom. We're not somewhere above that animal kingdom. We're in the animal kingdom. We're only one tiny little iota of all the life on this planet. We are just a living little creature. We are an animal, and we are ruled by our hormones and our blood sugar and our gut microbiota. The bacteria is telling us what to do, not us. The hormones, the bacteria, the chemicals, it's running us. And we're lunar, so every day of our cycle throughout the month, we're a different woman who likes it harder or softer or even softer than that. And I like to say sometimes we're a kitty cat and sometimes we're a lioness. But our partner has no clue when we're what. They don't know. So we have to clue them in, but we're afraid to tell them because every time we tell them what to do, they go, I know, or they contract, or they take it personally, or they think they've failed. They're really high maintenance around getting feedback, our men. And it's because testosterone unnaturally makes them more certain than they should be. You know why they don't ask for directions? Because testosterone makes them think they know where they're going. That certainty is what makes them wage wars and build buildings and scale mountains, like do idiocy things because they're so confident in themselves compared to us. We look at all of the things that could go wrong and they only assume that everything will go right. Obviously I'm generalizing, but you can see the dynamic of how our hormonal palette plays out in the behaviors that we have. So here they are, always turned on, steady state, ready to go. Intercourse is easy. Boom. And here we are worried about everything. The temperature's too hot. The sheets are scratchy. My yoni doesn't like it, a million things on our mind. It's a wonder we ever even have sex. It's so crazy. So what I say to couples is you guys got to get on the same page. Think about yourself. My husband and I call her, so you got to meet my beautiful husband, Tim, this morning. You got to get on the same page. You got to call yourself Team Sweetie or name your team, your bedroom team. You call yourselves Lover Team or Team Make It Happen or whatever you want to do. Get on the same page together and say, oh, okay, we are animals and she is cyclical and there's no way I can know what she wants because she doesn't even know what she wants. So she has to tell me. So what I do is I say that's called reporting in from your animal. You tell him what you need. And of course, anytime he has something, he should tell you too. This is a two-way street. All I'm doing is compensating for estrogen versus testosterone here, right? You tell him everything, every step of the way during lovemaking, harder, softer, you're on my hair. Can you make it warmer? I need a blanket. Can you sop up that wetness? Use more lube, harder, stronger, deeper, wider, ticklier. No, I don't like it. It's scratchy. Go shave. Whatever you need to say, you say. I'm thirsty. Let's take a break. It's not feeling good today. Whatever it is. You're just telling him this running monologue of things. And his response is merely, thank you. The two words that explode passionate lovemaking are thank you. And the reason that they are is that estrogen needs encouragement. Estrogen needs to know it's safe. Estrogen needs to know you've got her. And when he says thank you, he's holding that masculine frame. He's got you. He hears you. He's encouraging you. He appreciates you. But you don't need to say please. You don't need to stop and say, please, honey, would you move a little to the left? You just go, can you go left, harder, right, up, move your elbow, whatever it is. And he says thank you. You say, well, wait a minute. That's not fair. Why don't you have to say thank you, but he does? Well, because if you have to get out of your sexy mind frame to remember to use your manners, you're shutting down the surrender that needs to occur for you to be fully pleasured. Well, doesn't thank you take him out of his state? No, he actually has this dualistic approach where he can surrender to his pleasure while keeping an eye on your safety. He has the ability to put one eye on the perimeter while he's pleasuring you and taking his pleasure. You have to be able to have the safety that he creates and surrender into it to go on the orgasmic journey that you have as your orgasmic potential. It's not unfair and it's not a level playing field. It's just we're different. So once he understands that thank you gives you relaxation and makes you feel it's okay. And sometimes he can say, this is another one I like. Okay, baby, how's this? Got it, baby. Better? Like when he starts saying that to you, when you just give him the information he's dying to get, when he understands that feedback isn't failure, it's power. When he is filled with information to give you an even more joyous experience, then his confidence goes up. Your respect for him goes up. You're thanking him for the most incredible pleasure he's ever given you in his life because you've empowered him to give it to you. That's what puts you on what I like to call the upward pleasure spiral. And what I did was I put this whole thing into a little tiny itty bitty ebook that I wrote mostly for the guys. So you can download it for free. It's part of my Sexual Soulmates book, which is one of my favorite books I've ever written. I've written 30 books, The 6 Essentials to Connected Sex. I think it's the number one essential to spiritual soulmatery. And I think sexual soulmates are co-created. And this is the first step in doing that. And so you can download it at the Sexual Soulmate Pact with my love and joy and good tidings and print it out, read it together, read it separately, read it together, discuss it, try it. It'll take him a few times, especially if you've got a stubborn kind of pig-headed husband. Boy, the ones where they're just a little bit overly macho and pig-headed, you really have to stay with them. You have to kind of pound it into their dumb shit brains. God love them. I mean, they're fabulous men. I love my men, all men. They're wonderful. I'm a champion of men. There are certain men who are super stubborn, and your job is to hold the belief that he will ultimately break through the pushback on being told what to do by a woman, and he'll get it. And he will. You just say, babe, could you say thank you? I love it so much when you say thank you. When he does it, go, baby, that felt so good. I felt so encouraged by you. I love it when you do that. You just keep rewarding him for doing it and asking him for it. He'll start doing it. He'll stop contracting. He'll lean into the information. And then you'll get really good at communicating with him, and your sex life will just take off like crazy.
Amazing. I love that. And I think I saw something on there. And is this where you're lying together? Is that the ones, the different embraces, or is that different?
That's the soulmate embrace.
Okay, yeah.
You can get that at soulmateembrace.com. That's the thing about arousal, is that most guys think that I've got to turn her on. I've got to get her aroused. And so they grab your crotch and they grab your nipples and you're like, this is too fast. This is too much. I'm not ready. Right. And so what they don't understand is that for you, relaxation is the portal to arousal. And so when they hold you, they hold you, you relax, and then they let you go. And you're like, wait a minute, that wasn't even a hug. They don't know how to hold you. And so the soulmate embrace teaches your partner how to hold you to a point of deep connection, soul connection, and relaxation, where you become so relaxed that all of a sudden you feel like, oh my God, right, I do love you. you do turn me on, because they skip that relaxation step because they're already aroused. They don't understand our arousal pattern. And so that's the soulmate embrace, which is very good at establishing more polarity as well. If you and your husband are like platonic in your life and running parallel strength in your out of the bedroom world, especially for strong women like us. So many women now, we're so strong, career women. We're barking orders at work, and then we come home and we just need our man to be like owning his stuff in the bedroom. And this is how he starts to do that.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So as far as some action steps for us, so you're talking about the genital massage three times a week, breast massage. Or what are sort of some, like for a week or something, what would we do? What would that look like?
Just try and connect 3 times a week with yonis and breasts, however you want.
Yeah.
Just have him get his hands on you and learn how to touch you right. Give him he needs practice. He doesn't know what he's doing.
I love it. I love it. And then anything you're obsessed with right now as far as a book? We're obviously going to recommend your books that you have, but a book or a website, a documentary, anything that you're like, you know what, I'm just digging right now that you want to share with the audience.
Thinking about that. Well, my summit. I'm obsessed with my summit. I know that sounds so self-serving, but it's the culmination of 15 years of work in understanding and teaching, and it's free. So it's at moresexualvitality.com. It is all about all of the different things, from if we have painful sex or pelvic pain, or we have candida or cystitis or UTIs, or it's all lichen sclerosis, herpes, avoiding STIs, erectile function for men, O shots and P shots and Gaines waves, and everything that keeps our bodies in good working order sexually. And I started off talking about how delicate our genitals are as women, incontinence and episiotomies and nerve damage. And, we just have a lack of sensation, and, all these things happen to us. And so if you're suffering from any kind of sexual issue, whatever it is, we've covered it, and we've talked about natural medicine and healing modalities, because we can't keep going to the doctor and getting antibiotics and blowing up our guts and then expecting to have hormones, Yeah. Yeah. So it's about all of those things, and it's free, and it's at moresexualvitality.com. And I assembled my dream team of functional doctors and tantra teachers, and we talk about all kinds of things, including post birth control pills and getting off the pill with Jolene. I know you've had her on your show, and all kinds of things. So it's non-hormonal contraception when you're ready is also a very good conversation to be having.
Awesome. So that's at moresexualvitality.com. And Is there a success story? I'm sure you've helped millions of people. So what's a success story that comes to mind for you?
I think the story about a couple that had trouble for almost 20 years. She never really felt like she wanted much sex. And I taught them the soulmate embrace. And it finally made her realize that her husband had always been just coming at her and going so fast that she'd never had time to relax and get turned on. And once she understood that she wasn't expected to always be turned on, and that he learned how to slow down and to meet her. And they were married for over 25 years and finally started having amazing lovemaking. And I think that is part of the story, is that it's never too late to have great sex, and that your sex gets better as you age because you get more skill, and that sex is a learned skill. And I think that story has been told to me a lot. The soulmate, because we were talking about the soulmate embrace, I remember that Jean was telling me about that. And I was just so happy that simple holding technique was what allowed her to understand her body's own rhythms, and for her husband to finally understand how to slow down.
I love that. So that's soulmate embrace. I'll have the link in the show mates, and that's soulmateembrace.com.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, sharing your words of wisdom. This is such a powerful episode, and really you just go there. And so I hope everyone got some tips to really help them improve their intimacy. And thanks again, Susan.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for the great work you do in the world.
Registration for our Mindfulness Fertility series is now open. This is a 6-week live online group program. This program is a must if you have an IUI or an IVF coming up, and is essential for anyone trying to get pregnant naturally. Whether you are stuck catastrophizing about the future or ruminating about the past, we'll help you reframe your thoughts, reduce anxiety, and create a solid mindset for success. Class starts on Thursday, September the 26th. Space is very limited. Go to Fab Fertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on shop, and then click on Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. That's Fab Fertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on shop, and then click on Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice, and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.